My name is Ralph from Natick. My name is Ralph from Natick. And first of all, I want to thank on behalf of myself, behalf of all of us who traveled out here from Los Angeles, California, and on behalf of any of the other addicts out here who don't get a chance to come to the podium but want to say it anyway, I want to thank Denver for putting on a hell of a convention. You guys don't know it, but they got some hell of a lights right here in your strange. You straight, you won't be able to see anybody. You know, you know, it's a privilege and it's an honor not only to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, but it's even more of a privilege and more of an honor to have had the opportunity to trudge with this brother for the last 10.5 years. I came into the program of recovery on October 11, 1986, and I showed up at my AA home group, which is where we first hooked up a couple of months after that. It was not long after we hooked up that Strange and I became road dogs. If you're new to the fellowship, one of the things we suggest is that you get a sponsor. One of the other things that I suggest from practical experience, it's not in the book, is that you get a dog. You get a running buddy. You get somebody that you can roll with, that you can do the things that your sponsor might say, okay, I want to elevate you. But your boy is your boy, and you can gossip about people, and you can talk about people. You can look at girls in the meeting and say, yeah, and you can do all the things that we do when we come up around here. And one of the things that I learned, it was important for me to get with somebody who was like-minded, with somebody who was on the same path that I was on. And I kept showing up at different meetings in South Central LA, and this brother would be there. I was a foot soldier at the time, and he had a little bucket. And one day he told me, man, you want to ride home from the meeting? And he took me home, and the next day he said, I'll pick you up. And we started hitting 3 meetings a day. Strange and I were hitting 3 meetings a day, all over South Central Los Angeles. About a year in our recovery, my brother Strange and I helped to organize a big book workshop. And we've been going through that book with literally hundreds of addicts and alcoholics for the last 9 years. And that's been an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. You know, this is a brother who back in our hometown, man, he puts in service work like you would not believe. But beyond the service work that Strange puts in, he also comes to meetings. At 1 month shy of 11 years sober, he still goes to meetings like he did when we first came around here, you know. So he's got that side of the triangle intact. He's still in the unity of this fellowship. You know, everybody knows about his service work, and this man knows and shares, and more important than knowing it and sharing it and communicating it, this brother lives the program of recovery that's outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have seen this man take addicts in his house. I have seen him get ripped off. He has called me and threatened to kill him. He has he has taken another one back into his house. He will never come to or leave a meeting with an empty seat in his car. You know, if you call on him, he will be there. Come to the World Convention next year, you'll see him. Come to the World Convention the year after that, you'll see him. Come to the one the year after that, you'll see him. He'll be there. He's on the front line for Cocaine Anonymous. And I admire this brother greatly, you know. He's my dog, he's my friend, he's my buddy, he's my teacher, you know. And what I'm most proud of about this brother is not the fact that we share the same home group. It's not the fact that we come from the same hometown. It's not the fact that we're the same age in recovery and we're the same age chronologically. But what most impresses me is that this is a man that came in from nothing. And he demonstrates to me the power of a loving God and what he can do with just a little bit of material to work with. And in South Central, one thing we know is we don't have a monopoly on this thing. And as I look out around me in this room, I am so glad to know that the God of my understanding knows no border lines, knows no color lines. And if you're tired, he don't discriminate, and he ain't tired. And there's a man who's going to come and share with you a story of experience a story of strength, and most of all, a story of hope. You know, I would like Cocaine Anonymous right now in Denver. Put your hands together. Help me to welcome my good friend and yours, Leon Strange.
Hello everyone, my name is Strange and I am, my name is Leon, I am a strange alcoholic. Ralph was talking about not being able to see because of the lights, and now I can't see because of the tears of joy. I'm overwhelmed by the love that I found in the family of Cocaine Anonymous. And I'm more than honored and privileged be able to come up here and share my experience, strength, and hope with you. And I want to thank Denver and the committee, and I want to thank Ralph for whoever the fuck he was talking about. You know, but a friend of mine says that you can't see your own ears, that you have to have a mirror to be able to see your own ears. And you people are my mirror, because I'm still one who forgets, who still suffers from feeling less than and not worthy. But my God has done so much for me, and I know he's not finished, You know, if I leave you with anything else after I finish talking, it's a message. And the message can be said in a different way, a couple different ways. And I believe the message that we carry through the 12-step program is, as a result of these steps, we have a spiritual awakening. But a real simple way of putting it is, God could and would if he was so. God could and would if he was so. Again, my name is Leon, and I'm a strange alcoholic. And I identify as a strange alcoholic, and it's not because of some of the haircuts and hair colors I come up with. And it's not because I enjoy piercing body parts. And it's not because I'm gay, because I'm not today. I identify as a strange alcoholic because I'm one who goes to Alcoholics Anonymous. In my home group, they don't play alcoholic and a nothing. And somebody introduced me to the 12 and 12, where it talks about a guy who came to Alcoholics Anonymous in 1937 who had other addictions other than alcohol. And that's what they called him. They called him a strange alcoholic. And I am so grateful to Alcoholics Anonymous for allowing Cocaine Anonymous to have their book, their steps. And I hope Cocaine Anonymous is not one to forget or lose gratitude to the Alcoholics Anonymous for allowing us to have that program. Because even then they had that thing they called a group conscience, because you know they didn't want to let this addict in there. Yeah. Addicts might ruin their reputation or something. Because there's just one slight difference between an addict and an alcoholic, a real small difference. An alcoholic might steal your mother's purse. And you look him in the eye and say, man, did you take my mama's purse? And he looked you dead back in the eye and said, no, man, I didn't take it. But we addicts. We'll steal your mama's purse. You look us in the eye and ask us if we stole it, and we'll say, no, man, I didn't take your mama's purse. You want me to help you look for it? Oh, we can go through some lengths. You know, I brought up the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, because I'm a firm believer that's where the program of recovery is. Because when I got to Cocaine Anonymous, I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. If you had told me just stripped down, butt naked, run around this room 3 times and back would keep me from using, I looked at you and said, where should I hang up my clothes? Because I'm getting ready to run. And I've been around this program just long enough to hear some things come from the podium under the guise of suggestions of recovery that's just as insane as that. That's why I'm so grateful for the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, where it states in the foreword to the first edition that we of Alcoholics Anonymous, and for us, Cocaine Anonymous, are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, and to show other alcoholics and addicts precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. I mean, I ain't got to guess. You know, this book has been helping people like us for a lot of years. If I do what they do, I might be able to get what they got. Because there's a saying, if you keep doing what you're doing, and you keep getting what you're getting. And what I was getting when I got here, I don't want no more. Now I'm going to read, there's 2 things I just picked out. I want to read one of them, because this is what I'm going to try to do. And it says, of necessity there will have to be discussion of matters medical, psychiatric, social, religious, and we are aware that these matters are, from their very nature, controversial. Nothing would please us so much as to write a book which would contain no basis for contention or argument. We shall do our utmost to achieve that ideal. Most of us sense the real tolerance of other people's shortcomings and viewpoints and opinion, and a respect for their opinions or attitudes which makes us more useful to others. Our very lives, my very life, depends, as an ex-problem drinker and user, depends on my constant thought of others and how I may help meet their needs. And what all I'm trying to say is, when I get up here and share, I'm going to do my utmost to uphold what they tried to do in that book. That's why I'm going to tell my story in a general way, what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today. I was born a small, blonde hair. I had blonde hair and blue eyes, and I was a little white kid. You know? I was raised in this black family in the suburbs of Los Angeles called Compton, California. And for a long time, that was a problem of mine, you know, because I grew up with a lot of TV. And that's what I saw on TV, and that's what I identified with, and that's what I thought I looked like, till I got to elementary school. You know, I come from a real good neighborhood. My father's an elementary school teacher. Today he's retired. My mother had a college degree, and she was a home engineer. I come from a 2-parent, loving, structured home. Come from where we sat down, we ate breakfast together as a family, we ate dinner together as a family. Father being a teacher, he was off on the weekends. We did family things, the movies and all that together as a family. I must have seen every Jerry Lewis and Bob Hope flick that ever came out. I was a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout. You know, we went to church on Sundays. I'm the oldest son. I have one older sister, 2 younger brothers. Father didn't drink, mother didn't drink. Father never cursed my mother that I ever heard. There was no fighting or fussing going on in the house. It was a real loving home. Something like the Leave It to Beaver family. So we didn't have upstairs, you know. If we had an upstairs, I might not be an addict today, you know. And what I'm sharing with you is I come from a good home, good neighborhood, good background. I knew how to read before I got to kindergarten and all that good stuff. And what I'm trying to share with anyone who might hear about the broken homes and the divorce and the drugging and all of that, you know, what I'm trying to say, it really doesn't make a difference where I'm at it. I just say like Popeye, I am what I am. Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous said we may never be able to answer the riddle why we react differently from normal people. But we're sure that once a certain point is reached, little or nothing can be done for people like us. You know, I grew up in this house, and for some reason I didn't feel a part of. I thought I had the meanest parents in the world, because I had to be in before the street lights came on. You know, come from them families where you didn't play in the front yard. That's why we got a house with a backyard. You know, I had one of them Kool-Aid moms. All the kids came down to our house to play, you know, and moms would come out with the Kool-Aid and the sandwiches. No wonder everybody wanted to come over to my house. But I didn't understand what was going on. I hated my parents. I couldn't understand why I did. I feared my father. I don't know why I did. He never really beat me or anything like that. I'm not saying that I didn't have discipline. But for some reason, I never fit in. I just didn't feel a part of. Felt like a flying saucer was flying over Compton one day, and they dropped this little white boy off, you know? You know, for a long time, I blamed my problems on my skin color and lack of having blonde hair and blue eyes. But as I look around this room, I see that's not the solution, because you guys are in here with me too. You know, I'm going to try to, because, I mean, some people have heard my story, and some things I don't change. And let me tell you why I started drinking. Women drove me to drink. I was in the first grade. I didn't drink in the first grade, but a double sure would have helped, you know. But my problem with women developed in the first grade. And my problem was that I had more girlfriends than anybody I knew. I was going with girls in the 12th grade. I had a girlfriend that was going to college. One was married. A couple in the 8th grade, the 9th grade, the 11th grade. And every single one of them in my first grade class were my girlfriends. And every single one of them cheated on me. They trampled on my emotions. And it wasn't until I came into this program that I was able to do a 4-step and write out my resentment that I was able to see the truth. And the truth was that ain't none of these girls knew they were my girlfriend. Because I hadn't spoken to any of them, you know. Because see, I found out early on, you guys can really hurt me. Because I was, first grade, I wrote this girl. She was on my first inventory. That helped me see the truth. Her name was Cheryl Green. Never had her in any other classes after that, but I wrote her a note. You know, one of those first grade notes, "Will you please be my girlfriend?" Mark the box yes or mark the box no. And I passed it forward. And of course, that guy read it, and he passed it. And by the time it got to her, everybody read it. And she marked the box no. There was no lines for comments, but she felt it necessary to put some on there. And by the time it got to me, everybody in class had read it. And it was marked no, and in big, bold print, it says no because you're too black. That shit hurt. I never wanted to experience that again. So I started making them my girlfriend without telling them. But when they went with somebody else, that shit hurt too. And by the time I got to junior high school, when kids start to set up goals for their lives, want to be lawyers, doctors, firemen. I only had one goal in life, and that was to get a girlfriend that knew my name. So I started imitating the guys that had girlfriends. Those were the guys I termed as cool. You know, the guys that wore the shirt tails out, talked out of the side of the neck, cursed like sailors, had cool haircuts, we used to call it the natural. They had this cool ass walk, we used to call it the pimp. That's when you walk like you were crippled. And cool guys wore those name brand clothes, Levi jeans, Converse canvas tennis shoes. So I started imitating them guys, man. I walked like the best cripple I knew. I started cursing like a sailor, wearing my shirt tails out. I would have dressed like they dressed, but my mother was doing the shopping. And I was wearing these Sears Robot double reinforced knee jeans. You know, the ones with the 3-inch cuff so you can grow into them. Plaid shirt buttoned all the way up to the top with an undershirt underneath it. It'd be 90 degrees, mother. Take your sweater. I was a real nerd. And my father, he was saving money. He bought him a pair of clippers. You know, see, the haircut may be in style now. They call it a ball fade. We used to call it the soup bowl. And it wasn't cool then. But the cool guys also went to this thing we had in our little junior high school gym called a sock hop. So I started going to the sock hop. Every week I went to the sock hop. Had my routine down packed. I would pimp across that dance floor. Straight to my spot on the wall. And then I started surveying the room looking for her, the prettiest girl there. And when I found her, I said, oh, there she is. I'm going to ask her to dance next week. And the following week came, I did the same thing. Needless to say, I never got a dance, always left out feeling the same way, with tears in my eyes, wondering what's wrong with me. Why can't I be like everybody else? Why can't I fit in? What's wrong with me? On the way to one of those dances, I ran into some of the cool guys. They was outside all huddled up. They called me over. And when I got there, they was passing around this bottle of this vintage beverage called Ripple. You know, as I learned how to read Bill's story for the similarities and not the differences, I found myself in Bill's story. I remember the first time I read it, I didn't see that. But after they taught me what I listen for when people share and what I read, what I listen to for when I read something, like, have I ever felt like that? Have I ever done that? Has that ever happened to me? Bill talks about he forgot the strong warnings and prejudices concerning drugs and alcohol that he had learned from his people. And when that guy pushed that Ripple bottle my way, everything I knew went out the window. I knew I was on school ground. It was improper. I could get in trouble. My daddy would whoop my ass if he knew I was doing something like that. It didn't come to mind. What came to mind is if I turn it down, they're going to really know I'm a poop butt. So I took the bottle, and I turned it up. And I remember it tasted real funny. It got warmer and warmer as it went down. And when it hit bottom, something magical happened. That little soup bowl haircut I had turned into a 4-inch natural. My eyes turned blue. Them Sears double reinforced knee jeans turned into Levi's. My voice got deeper. And what happened is I became real cool. And I strolled into the sock hop. And I picked out the prettiest girl there, a real vision for you. And in that new cool suave voice I acquired, I said, hey, sweetheart, would you like to dance? And she did what ladies still do to me today sometimes. She looked down at my shoes, came up kind of slow, and she said, no, thank you, maybe the next record. But see, alcohol gave me the courage to ask her. Also gave me the wisdom to tell that little bitch where she could go. See, no longer was I a problem because I'm good enough. And what happened is I got a few dances that night. But what I remember about that night the most is I got my very first 3 slow dances. My head went right to work. They said, man, a couple swallows of this stuff get you 3 slow dances. I wonder what the whole bottle will get me. Oh, I got with the fellas the next week and I found out. Well, I got with the fellas, I drank the bottle and I was on a mission. Like Betty Wright, this is the night. When I went to ask that girl to dance, I threw up on her shoes, my shoes all the way out the door. You know, drugs and alcohol puts me in the same kind of position that I need to be in this program. See, there are a couple things the big book Alcoholics Anonymous talk about that are indispensable. Having an honest with yourself, an open mind, and being willing. If you don't think you got it, believe me, you got it because you had it out there. I had it out there. Because, see, I was throwing up, and I truly did not know what to do. I was honest with myself. I don't know what to do. I was throwing up everything but the kitchen sink. And a guy named Willie came outside. Willie had been drinking wine for a number of years. So what Willie did is he shared his experience, strength, and hope with me. Willie gave me some suggestions. And since I didn't know what to do, I had an open mind. Willie suggested before I drink wine that I should coat my stomach, eat some fried chicken or something like that. And if I didn't want to get too drunk, just smoke a little bit of marijuana first. I had an open mind and I was willing to try. And what happened is that started me off on getting my PhD. Got 2 of them, pitiful, hopeless drunk, pitiful, hopeless drug addict. You know, I did everything that came my way. I don't identify as a dope fiend. They got to specialize in something. I'm more like a hope fiend. I just take anything and hope I get high. Drug of choice, yours, you know. And what happened is that I started following Willie's suggestions. I started drinking wine, smoking weed, and I got a girlfriend. Couldn't tell me the shit didn't work. I started fitting in. I started feeling a part of. I did whatever came my way. We used to call them fender benders. That's the Truanals, the Red Devils, the Quaaludes. And then the White Crosses, the Black Mollies, the Dexedrine. I even smoked PCP for a while. The only drug I ever gave up on sheer willpower. There was something about coming to butt naked on top of somebody's garage, you know. And that wasn't the bad part of it. It was the crowd of people down below pointing up at my shortcoming. So I left that shit alone, okay? And what happened is I went through all the high school, getting high, making friends, grades went one way, friends changed to another type of people. And, you know, I was in high school when I was first introduced to cocaine from an older sponsor. Somebody who shares their experience, strength, and hope with you. Older sponsor said, man, give me $10, I'll get your head froze. So I gave him $10, he come back with a little piece of foil with some white powder in it. He made some suggestions. Snort a little bit up each nostril, rub some on your gums, and save a little bit to sprinkle it on your girlfriend later. I don't know nothing about sprinkling shit. All I did, I snorted that shit right up and didn't feel a goddamn thing. Today I know you can't feel $10 worth of cocaine. After drinking a pint of gin, you know. So I kind of left it alone, but I did whatever came my way. You know, I got out of high school, I did graduate. I had a job at a hamburger stand while I went to junior college. I sold $10 hamburgers. Yeah, you bought a burger from me and I threw in a 4-finger lid of weed, you know, and I was doing quite well. I decided I didn't need college. I'm doing so well at this hamburger stand. And then I got to arguing with some people about the prices of my hamburgers. And we argued a few times and they offered me free room and board and I declined. And who I'm talking about is LAPD. So after a few arrests and, you know, and that's back when 3 seeds in your pocket was a felony. And I said, hey, I got a problem here. LA. And I took a scholarship. I took a scholarship to higher drinking and using courtesy of the United States Navy. That's where they pay you to get high. And I did it very well. I did every drug that came my way from every country it came from. I did psychedelics. I loved the shit. Had a good time. I had 6 captain's mats, 1 court-martial. I did get an honorable discharge, but it was more like a 4-year blackout. I did a lot of drugs. I drank every single day I was in the service. I got high every day I was there, including boot camp. And What happened after doing the Navy thing, after a year of staying in Washington, D.C., I decided that I needed to get a job. And I came back to California. Moved back to California, I got a job with a major utility company out there. And it was one of those jobs. I worked in a power plant, where the hard heads, turning valves, working for the union, doing a lot of overtime, working rotating shifts, making a lot of money. So I went out and bought me a new car, bought me a leather sofa, 3 fish tanks, got me a nice apartment in this town called Inglewood before it became Inglewatts. Put 30 pounds of weed in the closet, started buying my Hennessy by the case, and man, I was living the life. I had arrived. And what happened is I was going to all these local night spots and stuff, and this is about 1977. And I was in this night spot, and I bought some cocaine from one of the waitresses who was selling it for the bartender who didn't know I did cocaine. She said, "Lee, I didn't know you do coke." I said, "Yeah, I do it occasionally." And then she asked me a real stupid question for 1977. She asked me if I ever played baseball. So I told her all about my little league career. And she said, "No, that ain't what I'm talking about." She said, if you take me home, I'm going to show you how to play baseball. Now, I need to know, they used to call this stuff free basing back when I started. I don't know why, because there wasn't nothing free about that shit. But I had seen it once. You know, a friend invited me over. He was going to show me this new stuff, and that's when they were ether basing. And he did something wrong. He had the ether all on the plate, and then he lit a cigarette, and the whole shit went up in flames. Oh, no, I ain't going to die like that. I ain't even stick around for a hit, you know. And so I really didn't know what this girl was talking about. But I brought her home, and she pulled out this bag of cocaine. I knew what that was. And started rolling up some 20s. Yeah, we're going to get down. And then she pulled out this pipe, back in the old days, the one with the bowl and shit. And then she pulled out the shaker bottle and she cooked up a grab. She cut it in 4 pieces. She put a quarter on the pipe. And then she started sharing her experience, strength, and hope with me. You know, like she said, let it melt, let it fill out. When I say do it, you do it. But first, tilt up on one leg, tilt your head back. And by now, I know how to follow some suggestions, you know. And I followed them to the T. And when I got up off the floor, I asked her to be my sponsor. And she sponsored me for about a year. And what happened is she took me into a life that I had only heard about. Because I was working every day. You know, I did drugs, but I wasn't into that street shit. Oh, no. I started carrying guns. I started working in rock houses. I started beating up people who didn't pay the people that I worked for. You know, I started making examples out of folks. I wrote and delivered dope here and there, and I really don't want you to think I was a high roller, because I was not. I was just the grease in somebody else's wheels. But with her connections and what we were doing, we weren't running out of dope. And it was there all the time. And I created and had a real big habit. Numbers ain't important. Amounts ain't important. But I did it. For that year was like crazy, crazy, crazy. Job didn't mean shit. Fuck them. Catch me when you can. And what happened is she got real ill physically from smoking cocaine. She would break out in hives and stuff. And she said, "I'm leaving." And she left LA. And when she left her friend with me. Some people say their addiction was like having a monkey on their back. But with the amounts of drinking and using I was doing, it was more like having a gorilla on my back. Matter of fact, it was like having sex with a gorilla. You ain't through until the gorilla's through. And that bitch had a hold of my ass, you know. And as a result, my job just not could keep me in the drugs and alcohol the way I needed to be. I was making good money, working a lot of overtime, claiming 50 to 100 dependents. And that's the story I had to tell you about. But it just couldn't keep me in drugs the way I needed to, so I had to get a part-time job. I went into community service. I started providing cocaine to my community. I became one of my better customers, then I became my best customer, and then I became my only customer. That led me into a part-time jobs in furniture sales. Yeah, I sold all my motherfucking furniture. Then I went into discount furniture sales. Started selling your furniture. I did a small stint in banking at the ATM machine till I smoked up my gun one night. Let me tell you this last story. I'm gonna tell you how I got here. By the time I got here, I didn't care about nothing but the next one. How was I gonna get the next one? Had a girlfriend. She had this hairdo called a Jerry curl. Well, hers was more like a scary curl. You know, we wasn't spending a whole lot of money on the activator, you know. And what happened was I was holding the torch while she was, you know, and her hair lit on fire. And I need to let you know the only thought that came to mind is if I tell her she might drop the pipe. This went on for years afterwards. I did everything under the sun. I got a right to be here. I did it, okay? I did it, and I did it for a long time. How I got here. I didn't know I was coming here. Never heard of Cocaine Anonymous. Never heard of Alcoholics Anonymous. Never knew people got recovery. I didn't know nobody in recovery. People like me drink and use until they die. I used to want to quit, tried to quit, give my money to people. Whatever I say, whatever I do, don't give me my money back until Monday. Show up at their house 3 o'clock in the morning, high beams on, you know. Talking between clenched teeth, give me my money. I'm really kidnapped, I have to pay the ransom. And then they tell you the shit you told them. You said, don't, motherfucker, give me my goddamn money. And be mad at them on Monday, you know? I tried mailing my money home. I learned how to fish at mailboxes. I tried buying groceries first. I sold groceries. I tried getting a credit union on the other end of town. I drove like Speed Racer to get there. Paydays was extremely hard for me. It was almost like waiting on this meeting. You know, you feel like you gotta go in the bathroom, you walk in. I couldn't even eat, you know, and they give you a piece of paper, say payroll check. So you take that piece of paper for me, the liquor store, sign it, you give it to them. They give you back some more pieces of paper with pictures of presidents on them, usually dead ones. But as soon as they counted them out in my hands, they turned into rock coupons. So, I know what it is to have a top ramen noodle diet, right? Now, how did I get here? The job told me if I called in sick one more time, in the next 12 months, if I was late to work one more time in the next 12 months, I would be terminated. When I got here, I owed the IRS $23,000. I didn't have a checking account, a savings account. I couldn't afford to get my car fixed, and I was still working. Just couldn't get enough money to get my car fixed. It needed a battery. I no longer had any furniture in the house. I had moved from living in nice homes, you know, 3-bedroom, the den and the pool table, into a 1-bedroom, which I'm still in today. Crying myself to sleep at night, drinking a couple fifths of Hennessy, wondering what the fuck happened. Feeling like no one loved me. Identifying with bumper stickers that said, "Beam me up, Scotty, I want to get off." If I'd been able to kill myself and still show up to the funeral to see if anybody was there, I wouldn't be here now. I was riding a motorcycle, had a mohawk haircut, dangling earrings, black leather, no more than 3 changes of clothes, not enough underwear to last a week. Who didn't give a fuck? Wasn't bathing on a regular basis, making over $50,000 a year. And the job talking about if you late one more time in the next 12 months, you terminated. I knew I was fired, fuck 'em. But before I go, I might as well use some of my benefits. That's how I got here, through a spin drive program. You know, like the ones you see on TV? 2 weeks and a couple 2-day follow-ups. My insurance kicked out $15,000 for the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they taught me how to come to meetings. Through God's grace, rooms like this, that book, I haven't found it necessary. Take a drink of alcohol, smoking non-addictive marijuana, hit the cold end or the hot end of a bass pipe since June 23rd, 1986. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. I didn't know what this program had to offer. Where I sobered up, I was the blackest thing in the meetings besides people's shoes and the Jaguars parked outside. But they made me feel welcome. You guys were smiling. You looked like you bathed on a regular basis. You were hugging each other. People looked like they were happy to see each other. And I was sitting in the meeting and I heard you talk about God, and what came to mind was, shit, this is one of them damn cults. Y'all trying to brainwash me. I told my counselor that. She came back out and said, Leon, go back in there because your brain need washing. And one of the things they had taught us in that treatment center is that we're just a treatment center. All we're going to do is detox you. If you want to stay clean and sober, you need to go to one of these 12-step programs. And how they introduced us, they took us to CA, and they took us to AA. They made sure we were in a meeting every day. They had H&I panels come in to talk to us. H&I CA came in and talked to us, and I was able to identify. We went to a CA meeting, I was able to identify. But what really hooked me, I was in a meeting about 3 or 4 days sober, and this young lady came to the podium. Fellas, she looked good. And when she walked by, she smelled so good. And my head went to all the other good things I was sure she was capable of. And I don't know what she said in her pitch, but I remember what she said afterwards, because it seemed like she was looking at me. And she said, if you want what I have, keep coming back. Yes! Now you know what I thought she was talking about, right? And then this young man got up there, and he was well dressed, and he put his finger on the podium, and the glare hit me. 4 carats at least in this pinky ring. And he finished up his pitch. If you want what I have, keep coming back. And I thought to myself, yes, I'm gonna come back and rob this damn meeting. And then this old guy got up. He was missing hair, he was missing teeth, and he was old. And he finished his pitch. He started, yeah, you want what I have. And I was going, And I don't know whether he heard me or saw me, but he changed it in the middle of his pitch. And if you be new, I'll put it the way he put it to me. He says, you know what? You may not want what I have. You may not want anything you see in these rooms, but in the quietness of your own room tonight, why don't you ask yourself, do you want what you have? Do you want to continue to live the way you living? Doing the things you're doing, feeling the way you're feeling, having people treat you the way they treat you? If you don't, why don't you try this program on for size? For what do you have to lose? That night, I decided, I don't know what you guys got. I don't know if it'll work, but goddamn it got to be better than what I had. And I made a commitment that I was going to try to do this thing you guys talked about. You said 90 meetings in 90 days. I made over 270 meetings in my first 90 days. Now, I've been around here long enough to know some things, though, based on the book and based on my experience, that meetings by themselves ain't going to keep you sober. But goddamn it, it helps. You say get a sponsor. Oh, I'm grown. I don't need nobody telling me what to do. I didn't know about those previous sponsors I had. That had to be explained to me later. You said get a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. You said read it. I read it. They were a bunch of drunks. They really needed this shit, you know. Chapter 2, the agnostic talk about God too much. God don't come south of Wilshire. My prayers ain't going no higher than the ceiling. Let's skip that one. Okay, I'm a worker program. I'm powerless over alcohol and drugs. My life is unmanageable. Now I'm ready to carry the message. And what happened at 90 days of sobriety, life showed up. IRS, they did not wait until I got to my 9th step. They garnished my whole check. That job, I was late to work. Tried to explain it to my supervisor. Hey man, I'm getting sober now, and I was at a meeting. Man, I don't give a fuck. He said, I got 99 people that get here on time. Just get your lunchbox and take your ass on home. Girlfriend had 2 of them, both of them acting up, one of them still smoking. Went to a meeting to get my 90-day chip. I went and picked up a shirt that I had made at the local swap meet. Said, instant asshole, just add alcohol. I was going to flash that when I got my chip. Old timer looked at the shirt and started smiling. Then he nudged his buddy, and they both looked at the shirt and damn near fell out of their chairs laughing. And I asked him what was so funny. And he said, boy, what makes you think you need alcohol to be an asshole? You know, people that's been around for a while have a way of telling you things that are in the book that ain't written quite the same way. But I kind of found out where it was in the book. What it says is elimination of alcohol and drugs is but a beginning. A much more important demonstration of our principles lies in our occupation, our affairs, and our homes. See, I can still behave like an active addict if I don't start applying some principles in my life. And what happened, the anger had risen, all this stuff came up, and I came up with another plan of recovery. I like to call it Uzi Does It. I decided I was going to go to the surplus store, buy me a Uzi, go back to my job, and kill all of them son of a bitches. Wait till SWAT take me out. And I went to the surplus store, and I laid the money down on the table. I said, lady, I want the Uzi and all the ammunition I could get. And she said, okay. And she gave me these papers. She said, fill them out. And I filled them out. And she said, come back in 2 weeks. I said, 2 weeks? I need the gun today. She said, no, we have to send these to Sacramento to see if you're a nut or a felon. I'm both. I need the gun today. Oh, I'm so grateful for that law. And I tried to explain, no, I need the gun today. She said, you can't get the Uzi today, but you can get this nice pump shotgun today. I said, no, you don't understand. I need to kill a lot of people real fast. And she said she couldn't help me. And so I went out on my motorcycle, and I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes, wondering, who can I get this gun from? I call it God. It was a voice, a feeling, a intuition. It said, man, just go to a meeting. You can kill those people when you come back. So I got on my motorcycle, I went to a meeting, I walked through the doors, and today I know the purpose of a home group, going to the same one where people get to know you. And you know how they do? They walk through the doors, and somebody looks at you and says, hey, how are you doing? So I gave him the newcomer answer. I'm fine. And he said, no, man, really, how are you doing? And I went to say I'm okay, but what happened is I just started crying. I mean, tears and snot was slinging all over the place. And when you look like me and dress like me and act like me, you don't cry. Especially in front of another man. And I was crying. And what he did is he took me back outside in the back parking lot, and he pulled out the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm so grateful that that guy talked about that book in a way that I could understand it. Because he started reading the book back to me. He started asking stupid questions. Have you ever read the book? Yeah, I read the book. Have you ever really read the book? Yeah, motherfucker, I read the book. He said, well, you won't mind if I read something to you. And he took me to a part first, talked about resentment being the number one offender, kills more alcoholics and addicts than anything else. When we harbor such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol and drugs return again, then we drink. Ooh, that sounds so sweet. But he didn't talk like that, and as you can tell, I don't talk like that. And he read it to me in a way that I could understand it. Motherfucker, as long as you hate somebody that goddamn much, God can't never talk to you. And if God don't start talking to your stupid ass real soon, you're gonna get loaded. So, as you can tell, I'm not one, I love my old timers. I love them. I really do. I thank God for the old timers. But I have learned to disagree without being disagreeable. Because there's some that say, profanity is not a sign of spiritual growth. Okay? I ain't there yet. I'm only 11. Give me time. But what happened is he took me to chapter 5. You know the part where rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path? Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Like a lot of new people, I memorize it. I want to look good at the podium when I read. Ain't never heard it. And what he did is he started reading that back to me. Almost never have we seen a person drink and use who has thoroughly followed the path. Do you know what the path is? And before I could answer it, he said, shut up. He said, I see you in the meeting every day, but you can sit in the meetings until you grow calluses on your ass. That's part of the path. It ain't the true path. He said, being of service, emptying ashtrays and stacking chairs, he said, you can take them chairs home with you. Just bring them back after you get loaded before you sell them. And we all stick around. You secretaries run off with the money. Coffee pots don't get returned. That shit don't keep you sober. He said what the path is the 12 steps. And what happened is I was introduced to some people that helped me go through the 12 steps, where I found out what it is to be powerless over drugs and alcohol. See, what I'm saying, when I'm powerless, when I say I'm powerless, that means I ain't got the power to stop once I get started, and I don't have the power to stay stopped once I stop. And they started explaining to me why that is like that. That I have a physical allergy to alcohol and drugs. That if I take a hit, it creates a phenomenon of craving for another hit. That's what the book said. It gives me a real strong itch for another hit. And that feeling is just so intolerable that I have to take another one. It's almost like eating a box of X-Lax. There will be a physical reaction. And you don't have the power to control it. When I take a hit, I understand that, because I don't have the power to tell you when I'm going to stop, how much I'm going to spend, and all that. I have friends that were able to do that. Sitting there smoking, dope on the table, look at the watch. Oh, I got to go get the kids. If it was me sitting there smoking, if I had some kids then, you could have them little motherfuckers. I ain't going nowhere. I don't have the power to stop because of the physical craving. But I don't have the power to stay stopped because of the insanity of the mind. I remember the first time I looked at step 2, that went in this fine-tuned state of mind I had, and what came out is somebody's here, in here, is crazy. I wonder who. And it wasn't until they started telling me the story about the jaywalker, and my sponsor told me a story about a little boy that sticks his hand on the hot oven, burns the shit out of him. You wrap it up, you ice it down, you tell him don't touch the stove, and he stick his other hand on the stove. And you do the same thing to that hand. Now he's sitting up there with 2 bandages on his hand, and as soon as you turn your back, he stick his face on the stove. He said, what do you think about that little boy? I said, he crazy than a motherfucker and he needs some help. He said, well, how many times did drugs and alcohol burn your ass? And how many times did you go right back to it? That's the insanity that we're talking about in step 2. And I had to know that of myself, by myself, I can't change that. That led me into step 2. that I needed to come to believe in a power greater than myself. The way I got to step 2 is real simple. If there isn't a power greater than me, I'm fucked. See, I'm one who always was waiting on the burning bush. Show me proof. God, if there is a God, show me proof. And dope fiends like me are in here every day telling me they ain't used one day at a time for X amount of time, and I'm asking for proof. Chapter to the agnostic, most important chapter to me. Because it told me, well, if you honestly want to quit and you find that you cannot quit entirely, or when you're drinking and using, you have little control over the amounts that you drink and use. Yeah. Well, you probably be suffering from an illness. What they says is you're an alcoholic, probably. And if that be the case, you be suffering from a disease which only a spiritual experience will conquer. Only a spiritual experience will conquer. I read a lot of papers, a lot of sales papers, and I ain't never seen where I can get a spiritual experience. But they told me if I worked the steps, that's the result of it. I got to believing in a God through the chapter to the agnostic when they said, Leon, you ain't got to believe in God. All you have to do is be willing to admit to the possible existence of a power greater than you. And I know I ain't made no butterflies and I didn't design the tree. I'm not the one that decided bears hibernate and birds migrate. A blade of grass can crack the sidewalk and grow up toward the sun. Something put gills on fish where they can breathe underwater. Something created those things, and whatever that is a power greater than me. If that power has enough power and intelligence to do that, maybe that power can help me stay sober one day at a time. That's where I started off at. I've grown in some areas. I'm not a religious person. I like the definition of spiritual. My book tells me so many things that I need to know, like knowledge is not enough. Knowledge without action, prayer without action. I like that one. Prayer without action is a fucking fantasy. But I had to hear things like that to help me keep going. And what I did is I went through the steps. I'm not going to get up here and give you a step study. You need to do that with some people that are doing that. But I need to let you know I experienced the steps. I've done my amends at $23,000. I paid it to those people. Not the way I had planned to. Because at 6 months of sobriety, I had a motorcycle accident. And I went down to a part of South Central Los Angeles where they practice vampirism. And I was laid out in the street and there was a one-legged man standing in front of me. It just happened to have on the same type of shoe that I had. And what it was is that my leg had just snapped all the way back and just was standing up in front of me as I laid in the street. And the people were doing the type of first aid like, here, take off his gold chain, he might choke on it. Where's his keys? Did you find his wallet? And God sent one of his angels, another member of a 12-step fellowship, who said he ain't never stopped at an accident, didn't know it was me there, but something inside said stop. And when he stopped, he was able to know he had seen me at meetings, and he was able to stop all that madness. And as I went to the hospital, some way I had told somebody my phone number, I don't remember. And my parents, who will walk 3 miles before they jaywalk, walk through the very same doors that say do not enter. Because see, I went to the hospital, I was a John Doe, they didn't know me. They called up the surgery team, they said we can't save his leg, we're going to cut it off above the knee. And they called the county hospital, told them to get ready, they sending me over there. My parents walked through the very same door that they were taking me out of to send me to the county to have my leg amputated. My mother said, hey, where are you taking my baby? They said to the county hospital, we had to amputate his leg. They said, why are you sending him there? He got insurance. They stopped that damn stretcher so fast I almost slid off of it. And what I need to let you know, God was working. I'm on my own leg. This is my leg. Yeah. God just showed himself out. Because as I was going up to my room, they were wheeling me up to my room, there was another member doing a 12-step call at that hospital. When I woke up the next morning, there were members of Cocaine Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous in my room every day that I was in that hospital. Some people I didn't even know, but they knew there was a sober member trying to stay sober, and they showed up every single day and brought me a meeting. When I got out of the hospital, those people carried me to meetings in my wheelchair, and they nursed me back to health. They showed me what unconditional love was all about. What I've been through in my sobriety has been up and down, up and down. I've had money, I've been employed, I've been not employed, I've been healthy, I've been not healthy. I've been in relationships. I've been in relationships. And I haven't found it necessary to drink, and I grow from every experience that I have. I love Cocaine Anonymous. Cocaine Anonymous means so much to me that I would give up almost anything for Cocaine Anonymous. Because the things that I have today and I'm able to enjoy, I wouldn't have if it was not for Cocaine Anonymous. You know, I had my first child last year. She'll be a year old next month. And God, in his infinite wisdom, knew this fool could not be responsible unless he was sober and had some principles in his life. I imagine that's why I ain't had no kids prior to this. And that girl is one of the joys of my life. And she's going to be a Cocaine Anonymous baby. She might be here next year. You know, there would never be enough time to try to tell you the story that I want to tell you, because you know there's three pitches. The one you want to say before you get up here, the one you actually say when you get up here, and the one I'm going to wish I had said when I sit down. But to anyone that's new, ain't no way I can stand up here and tell you what you got to do. I can't even tell you this is the only way, because this is not the only way to stay clean and sober. But this is a way that has helped thousands that came before me, and this is the way that has helped me. So if you want to know what I did, I'm more than willing to share with you what I do to stay clean and sober. You know, I hear people talk about the relapse and da-da-da. The book says they show improvement. I don't give a fuck if they relapse 1 week out of every month. Guess what? That's 1 week. They ain't drinking and using. That's a damn improvement. And I know that God, if he can work for me, he can work for them. Who am I to give up on anybody that's trying? You know, I've learned some things, and maybe we'll do a pamphlet one day on how to properly 12-step people in Cocaine Anonymous, because believe me, we cannot 12-step them like we do drunks. Because they will set your ass up. And I'm serious about that. See, it used to be that the drunk could call and say, I'm drunk, come get me. Oh no, you sprung, you meet me somewhere. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to deal with you while you're high. But you meet me somewhere. See, I ain't going in the rock house to get somebody out. I want your ass when you come screaming out the door. So, but I have learned some things, you know, like allowing the addict to stay in your home. Give them a time limit. Because we carry the message, not the addict. You know, I'm not going to try to squeeze nothing else out, because I just went blank. You know, shit, what can I say? I'm gone. I'm blank. There ain't nothing else coming out. I ain't going to try, because I know you smokers want to get outside anyway. You know? But, you know, I really can't express in words how much you guys make me feel wanted and cared for, and it means the life to me. It means my life. You guys have given me a life Cocaine Anonymous and the 12 Steps Anonymous have done what they're supposed to do. They introduced me to that power much greater than myself that has given me the power to say, no thank you, I'm not drinking and I'm not using, one day at a time. That same power has given me the power to change a lot of things in my life that I used to be comfortable with. Taking your shit, sleeping with your wife. I could tell you some stories. Because I've done that. I slept with somebody's wife in the fellowship. And the worst thing that you can do is hurt another addict trying to stay clean and sober. And that man showed up at my house. And he asked me, I heard you've been sleeping with my wife. He didn't show up with a gun. He showed up with something worse than that. Tears in his eyes, professing his love for his wife. I never want to hurt somebody like that again. One day at a time. I don't sleep with nobody's wife. You know, we got this saying, until you hit bottom in whatever area it is that you practicing, you ain't gonna change. I know what it is to stand up at a podium talking about what God's done for you and look down at a table in front of you and there'll be 6 women sitting there and you sleeping with all of them currently. I know what that feels like. One day at a time, I don't have to experience that feeling no more. Because God gave me some principles, you know. I don't know if you know. It's in the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm going to say this. I'll quote out of this book, because this is the book that Cocaine Anonymous uses. I'll even talk about the 12 and 12, because that's the book that this 12-step fellowship uses. Those other books, I use them where they're used at. You know, there's this, my God, you won't ever, for me, and I, you know, if I step on your toes, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to try to do that, but let me read this so I won't do it gently. This is what the book says, yeah. I'll do it gently. Okay. It's in working with others, and they talking about dealing with a newcomer. And it says, when dealing with such a person, you had better use everyday language to describe your spiritual principles. There is no use in arousing any prejudice that he may have against certain theological terms, conceptions, about which he may already be confused. Don't raise such issues, no matter what your own convictions are. You know, even on my job, I work for corporate America, and they got this thing of, we don't even want to appear to be, you know, like affiliated. You know what I'm saying? The appearance of affiliation can cost you your job. And what I'm saying is like appearing like we're doing favors for one company over the other. So what I'm saying is when I first got here, if I had heard this particular God named too many times in the meeting, I wouldn't be here today. Because I would have swore this was a religious program, even though you told me it wasn't. It sure sounds like it. And religion was opium for the masses for me. I'd rather smoke the shit, thank you. Now I need to let you know today, I don't get upset about it no more. Because you do what you got to do. I am very open to whatever religion it is, because today I understand that the same principles in this book are taught by every single religion under the sun. And that God is God no matter what you call him. And God has stepped into my life and saved my life. And I'd like to invite each and every one of you to take a walk with God. He'll meet you at the steps. Thanks for allowing me to share.